Now this battery cover right here that goes on the front of that, when they bent it, they didn't make a perfectly nice 90 degree. So we're gonna try something here, and I don't know how this is gonna work, and I'm kind of nervous, but he really wants to try it, so we'll try it. But we're gonna keep it against the post. We're gonna try to curl it just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna grab a square and check it. I don't think it really moved. Might have to put some heat on it, on that elbow. Not elbow, but the corner. See how far it's off? I think I'm gonna have to take heat it. I'm gonna have to heat it.
Did it bend at all?
No, this thing's just tweaking. It's just lifting the skid steer up. He wants to go one more time. One more and that's it. No more. I don't think it moved it. I'm gonna check it though. No, I'm gonna have to use heat. If I heat that edge right there, it will bend a little bit.
Yeah, it's just not heavy enough. Skid steer's not heavy enough. All right, we brought the big guns out. That thing shouldn't have any trouble bending it now, as long as we don't over bend it. So we're gonna use the skid steer to put the bucket on top of the widest part of this cover, this lid, and that'll hold it down, and then the loader's gonna come and push on the face of that. We're just gonna lightly bump it and see if we can get the square to make a nice 90 on that. Skid steer's in place, holding the sheet down, leg arms spinning Brody's. No, he's not, he's peeling out. Loader is still running, but we're definitely got transmission problems, and we found a transmission, a used one out there for a good price, and we just got it sitting on a pallet. So when the time comes, we're gonna swap the transmission out and get that one out, get the one in there that's used, because they don't make them anymore, and there's not very many of them out there, and nobody rebuilds them. And then we'll take apart the old one and just see if maybe it's something we can repair ourselves when we get time, you know.
He was right. He was right. Here. All right, well, leg arms is finished up the front of that tractor. I'm gonna talk about the back of the tractor. We thought we had it all figured out, how we were gonna do it. We ordered iron, had it cut. And then one moment, leg arm's just sitting there and he's just like, oh, that's not gonna work if we do it this way. And I'll show you what's going on here. Drawbar. This is where you hook your implement to. Grain cart, air drill, cultivator, whatever it may be, okay? And then that point there anchors to the whole divider box, chain case, that whole assembly there. So what they're doing is they're pulling from not this whole back axle end, they're pulling from right there, which then is tied into the two center hinge points of the articulation of the tractor. So the reason they're doing that is this here is not strong enough to pull. This is not designed to have this end pulling hard. So as you're going, it would just eventually rip this all out. The idea is this is pushing against here, and then you're pulling on this, the implement, which the whole front of the tractor is pulling too, okay? The Series 3 bud, which we have, which I think most tractors today do too, the drawbar goes all the way to this pin right here. It goes straight back. That's how they designed it, and the whole tractor. Well, here's the dilemma. There's a lot of geometry that goes into this. And it's kind of a noodle twister. It's just hard to think about. So I'm gonna try to explain it to you guys in the best way I can. And that's my kids' Legos. So this is the front of the tractor. Cabs here, hood, okay.
Hood, makes sense, all right. And then the wheels could be a big wheel here, and a wheel here, and a wheel here, and a wheel here. Does that make sense? All right, so back of the tractor, front of the tractor. This joint right here is the pivot of the tractor. That's the bushing that we just replaced, okay? This is the drawbar. I've got 2 points here because I've been playing with distancing this to see how it handles. So anyways, originally, how this worked was the drawbar hung on this right here. It's very wore, we gotta rebuild it, but they had a big round roller here, and it just rolled on here, and then it allowed the drawbar to roll back and forth. Well, eventually guys quit doing that because they weren't side hilling and they didn't need it. They just locked the drawbar straight in one spot, and that's what our other buds are like, okay? So here's where you gotta start thinking, okay, well, everything seems fine, right? Well, the distance between the center pivot right here, that bushing, and where the drawbar attaches is like almost 2 feet, 20 some inches from there to there, maybe 20 inches. What that does is as you pivot, as the tractor drives through a ditch, and this tire goes way, actually let's do this one because it's already different. This tire dips down on the ground, this tire goes up. As this rotates, as you're going through the field, this drawbar is now gonna have to pull this way, okay? You're like, well, that's not a big deal, right? Well, the drawbar is not straight with the center pivot right there. It's down. What does that do? Well, then it causes it to pull up to the side, and then the distance of the drawbar is shortened because as this twists up, the drawbar gets smaller, not actually, but technically it starts pulling the drawbar tighter against the back end of this tractor. So originally we were just like, oh, this is great, we'll just hook the drawbar in, we'll have a nice big plate with a little square hole. Actually, I'll show you that right now. This is originally what we had designed, okay? This was gonna go on the back of the tractor. This is inch thick steel. Drawbar was just gonna come out the back. It was just gonna rest. We were like, oh, we'll just suspend it right there. It'll be perfect. No, it's not perfect. I'll show you. Because with that down here, and as this starts to turn, it's gonna try to twist that square like this. Well, the drawbar is straight, so it's gonna try to twist the drawbar, which means this pin here is gonna take a whole bunch of side-to-side abuse. So it starts getting even more complicated as you get going. So since we're putting the LSWs on here, we raise the axles 1 inch with those spacers. We're gonna gain about 6 inches off the ground. Well, a class 4 drawbar is roughly 20 inches from the ground. That's what our other buds are. It's now gonna be 26 inches if we keep the same drawbar placement as we had before. Our idea was we were gonna drop the drawbar down 6 inches to keep it in that same 20-inch range. Well, as you drop it down further, there's terms moment, arm. I think it's moment, arm. It's been a while since I've been in geometry and physics. But anyways, you know what I'm getting at. As you drop this down further, now you're swinging way further. So the tighter you can keep the drawbar up to the center pinpoint, then the less the drawbar has to swing back and forth. It would be perfect. It was right center with the pivot, but it's way down here. So as the tractor goes through a dip, that drawbar has to have play. It has to go in and out, and it has to twist. So we're trying to figure out, how do we tackle this? So one thought was, well, we lengthen this. Keep the pivot anchored in the same point and just drop the whole drawbar down. So this gap here would be 6 inches taller, so the pin would be up here. And that would keep it where it was, because that's how the bud was originally engineered. It worked. We'd have a roller here with a little bit of play. You gotta have play here. And then the drawbar down here. Well, the problem is, you got a 1,500 bushel, 2,000 bushel grain cart, air seat or whatever, and you're going down a hill and it's gotta push. As this is up here and it's pushing, it's gonna try to twist that drawbar. Is it side hilling? And so there's gonna be a lot of stress placed upon this pin right here. We're straight level. This is the back of the drawbar. This is your hitch. Got a big old cart attached here. Your tractor goes through a dip, okay? See, it pulls it to the side. See how the drawbar goes back and forth? But this in here has to go back and forth. And in the process, you guys can't really see it. But the drawbar pivot point gets pulled in and out. It goes out, then gets pulled in, goes out, and then gets pulled in. It's going in and out. So, well, that's kind of the dilemma we're facing is, what do we do here? Because of the design of this tractor, it's just really difficult to figure out. New tractors today, they just attach the drawbar to the back half of the tractor because they've engineered the strength of the tractor in your center spherical bushings and pivot of the tractor. This one's not designed like that. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this under there and we're gonna mock it up and we're just gonna start sitting there scratching our heads and thinking, how can we do this? Can we still drop the drawbar down and anchor it up like we were thinking? Do we need to have a whole new drawbar made? And how are we gonna anchor it here? Because originally we were gonna have it pivot down here. Well, it really needs to be back up here to keep the same geometry that they have from the factory. start wearing the hair out on our head and start scratching. Mine's already wearing out pretty good. We'll wear some more out. Right, so we got some warm chairs we've been sitting on for a bit, drinking our coffee and thinking it through. Played with some Legos for a minute. I think what we're gonna do is we are gonna drop the drawbar down, and we are gonna use some of the iron that we ordered. But before I get much further, I'm gonna jack this tractor up. So I wanna raise this whole tractor up to where it would be with the LSW 1400s on it. And then we will have a way to measure from the ground level to where the drawbar should be. A category 3, category 4 drawbar, according to my research on the internet, is 20 inches. I'm assuming 20 inches to the face of the drawbar from the ground. So 20 inches up, okay? So I wanna get this drawbar 20 inches, and then originally this road on top here, we're dropping it 5-6 inches down. So I'll keep this below this giant 2-inch piece here, and that'll be roughly where the drawbar will wanna be. And when we get that all figured out, if we like where it's at, this piece, we'll cut a hole, like a square probably. Cut a square in it. We'll cut off a bunch of this on the bottom here, so none of this will be here. That'll all be gone. The center pin, which is right here, that rolls. We're gonna rebuild this unit, but that then will slide into here. The drawbar will hang down here, and the drawbar will have the ability to pivot back and forth like this, okay? And then it'll have the ability to also go in and out on this inch. And then we're gonna plate the backside with a shelf. So imagine this being on the inside, like I'm the axle looking from the inside. We'll put some heavy, thick iron right here, maybe even a replaceable wear plate that we can unbolt and remove over time, because this is gonna be a point where metal rubs against metal. That'll sit there, and that round roller will come through and ride on that whole surface. So that way it's not just a little 1-inch surface it's riding on, it'll be like 6 inches or however long we can get out of that. You could put some grease in there, you could put a nylon pad in there, there's a lot of options, but it's gonna sit there, it's gonna go in and out a little bit, and it's gonna twist. And best bet, probably make a reusable 1/2-inch piece that bolts on, kind of like a T, or that goes in, so it'll go across, a little notch going in that covers that. 10,000 hours down the road, you're wore through, unbolt that piece, put a new one in, keep going, and then we'll have a sleeve that can go on and off the drawbar here. So when you just jack the drawbar up, go underneath, pull the sleeve that's wore off this round stock, put a new one on, back in business. And I think that's just the best way we're gonna do this. Let's jack this tractor up. All right, let's lift. Is that too much weight for that jack? I don't know. All right, let's reposition. So I'll put this in here. It's gonna tilt a little bit. I might put another stand there. We'll let that down, and I'll block that back up again, and we can keep going. Almost off the ground. Flip that down. Okay. So that is 28 inches. 20 would be where the drawbar needs to be, right there. So 27. Yeah, that'd be about right. So the question is this as high as it's going to be when the LS dubs are on. I gotta do some more measuring. Roughly right there. How we sitting height-wise? Yeah, we're actually a little high right now. 20.5 inches. So right now it's 20.5. Let's go down a hair. There we are, 20. Here's the old wheel well. This front axle's not jacked up. This tire's a little low, doesn't have duals on it, so it's a little lower than it should be. And here is this one, how it should be to fit those tires in here. Technically this is 83 inches, LSW is 82, roughly. Now, you have to take into account the fact that the front's not jacked up, so if you lift this up, because I've got stands further back than this axle, when that goes up, this goes up too. So technically, if the front were lifted up, this would be a little taller. The other thing you gotta think about is it's throwing the drawbar up in the air right now. So I have it right at 20 inches in this spot. Well, if you were to anchor that up, lift the front up, it would dip this down a little bit. So you just gotta kind of, we don't have to be just absolutely precise here. I mean, we're putting in a couple inches, 20 inches. Say we're 18 inches, that's perfect. Say we're 23 inches, that's doable. You can still hook stuff to it, it's fine. So, but I would like to get it as close as I could to that 20 inches, which is the standard in the industry. And I think we're pretty close. So I got 4-inch blocks on top of these 28-inch stands. And then this gap has grown significantly, so we're gonna have to cut that hole down lower when we put that plate on here and hang this drawbar. And up here, I've got this hanging, and you can see the angle is not square with the original, so this needs to be dropped down first. So when we build the bracket to hold the front of this, basically build this down here, and we'll have a pin that goes through all three. It's gonna have to be down here a little further, so that way that is parallel with the frame, which makes the drawbar parallel back there when we get that all right. Cool beans. All right, drawbar. Let's take a closer look at you. So its previous life in California, there was a lot of wear on the top part of this, which makes me think when it was pulling a ripper, depending on if it was in the ground, it would apply forces on the top of that drawbar and then down, unlike the usual wear, which happens with our type of farming, which is just on the bottom. But there's still a lot of life left in that. That's a lot better condition than our other buds. So we're gonna keep this drawbar, we'll run it. When the day comes, we have to get a new one made, we can do that. But I'm gonna clean this thing up. We're gonna cut this piece off. Don't need that. We're gonna cut this off. Don't need that. And then, that was a 2-inch pin, and it's no longer a 2-inch pin. So I'll get in here, I'll wire brush this, clean this up, and look and see where the weld is. They probably welded this side, all of this is welded, so I'm gonna cut this off, try to cut around here, try to cut around there, eventually see if I can pound this thing out, and then put a new 2.5-inch rod inside there. And then this will be the roller that'll go over it. This is a piece we happen to have. It's 4.5 inches wide, which is the same as the other tractor. We got to turn this down, and then this will sleeve on that. And then we might make a greasable spot too. So I got work ahead of me. Let's get cutting. Well, I cut the pin. That hypertherm's amazing. So I'm just pounding the stub out right now and it's going. It's just very slow. Yeah. Woo! That's it. She's clean. Well, kinda. I got some cleaning up to do over there. So, yeah. Grind, a little more plow on the grind, clean the hole up. Get that pin to fit in there, turn down the side of it so that way that collar slides over it. Possibly tap it, drill it, put a grease zerk on it, put it back on here, weld it up really good, and then move it on to that. After we build that whole thing right there. There we go. All right. We're gonna have a strap that goes around the back side. That's how I think they originally had it. So it'll be attached here and here, and then the weight will be carried on this centerpiece between the two spots. And that strap, either it's a U-bolt or a bracket we built, will be able to come off so you can slide the drawbar out when it's in there. All right, well, I just lightly machine down, turn down a little bit of this shaft. This was 2.5 outer diameter, this is 2.5 inner diameter, but they were a little tight. There was a couple burrs in this whole thing, so I cleaned that up. So we're good now. There's just enough slop that this rotates. So I think now I might drill a hole horizontally through as far as I can get a drill bit to go, and then drill a hole in the top for a grease port to be inside of here, and then I'll drill a hole vertically down to meet that hole that I drilled, tap that spot, put a grease zerk there, weld this hole up. That was Legarm's idea. And then that way, we will have a grease zerk right on top here that we can put the zerk gun on, and it'll squish grease inside the roller. I don't even know if we really need to do this, to be honest, because this roller is only gonna move a 1/2 inch each way. I don't even know if that, 1/4 inch. It's not gonna move much. We're locking this in there. Just enough play though, so that when that whole axle pivots, it'll have room to kind of twist and turn inside. But other than that, this is gonna move a little bit on this joint, so you might as well, if this can roll just a little bit, let it slide inside on this shaft, and that will reduce the wear from happening on the surface. 'Cause I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a flat spot on this is gonna develop as it's resting on the ledge or shelf that we're gonna build, that'll ride on. And it's just gonna be a disposable part over 5,000 hours or 10,000 hours, however many hours you get on this thing, you might have to say, okay, let's make a new one and put it on it. Does it take that long? 2 hours? It's really not a big deal. And it's cheap too. Okay, let's weld it up. A lot of my earlier welds, we were using CO2 and a little lower quality wire, and we switched to a higher quality wire and a gas mixture. I forget what it is. It's like argon and something else or another, and man, the welds go on nice. Oh, they go on smooth, shiny, silky smooth. Way better than that CO2. Yeah, that stuff just makes a mess of things. I mean, for rough welding, I guess it doesn't matter, it's cheap, but just get the good gas and good wire. It's worth it. It's hot, but we'll see if it's welding. It's a little tighter on the end there. Look at that. Is that a little better than it was? Remember the first shot I showed you guys? Yeah, it was like a 2.5 inch pin turned into a 1 3/8, and now it's back to a 2.5 inch pin. So, this will be right here. That'll be the swivel point for this thing to kind of rock back and forth as the axle pivots. It'll also slide back and forth on this, on a little shelf we're gonna build on next to that 1 inch plate that's gonna hold this whole thing. And then on the back side here, we're gonna have a big old thick chunk of 1 inch iron that's gonna sit flat on here with 2 big old holes in it, a U-bolt that's gonna be bent for this 6 1/8 width drawbar. And the U-bolt will come up, big old nuts on each side, and then we're gonna weld on top of that a big old flange, another big old flange is gonna wrap around the top of this and go back down. So when you bolt that down, it'll pull this tight to the drawbar. And then when you got your 2,000 bushel, 3,000 bushel, soon to be, well, 3,000 bushel cart on the back of this thing, and all that weight's pulling down on this drawbar, it'll be suspended from here and all this, and then right here. So theoretically, we shouldn't rip a drawbar off. You guys can blame me if it rips off. So the drawbar, we decided we're gonna bend it. So we're bringing him in. And we're gonna get some heat to that. We've bent one in the past. Get it nice and red, cherry hot. Actually, it doesn't be quite that hot. Then we use this loader, press down on it, and we're gonna bend it to how we want. I'll probably need to spin it around. I'll probably need to spin the drawbar around. So the weight's pretty much off the front axle. Parking brake's on, it's pressing down. We're gonna get that hot. And eventually that bar will just go. So when we get it straight, we're good. Then we gotta flip it over, put a block in a block, and we gotta bend that sharper. So it's kind of like this, we gotta go like that. And that should give us the shape we need to make the drop down off the divider box to where it'll hang. Make sense? I think so.
quite there yet. Gotta get those atoms nice and happy. You gotta be moving around a bunch. Get them, basically gotta get it red. We don't have it quite there yet, so, but it did start to bend a little bit, so we're close. So it just started to blow the other direction a little bit. Here, see what you think. I think it looks pretty good. It's got a slight smile.
Just a very slight smile.
So we'll leave the loader there, let it cool down.
Do you want me to take a little bit of pressure off?
Well, the thing is, well, I don't know how much this drawbar is going to bend over time with weight on the end of this. It's going to try to bend back the other way.
A little bit.
I mean, we could take the weight off if you want.
Or leave it and let it cool down.
Yeah, you can let it cool.
Before I take the weight off,
just let those atoms settle down. All right, leg arm's gonna take the weight off it. We'll see if we can watch this thing flex. See what it does here. There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. That's good. Perfect. It looks straight to me. Nice and straight. Oh yeah. So it used to bow, right here used to go like that. And we just put it like that. So who wants to touch it?
I'm good with drawbars.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely good at drawbars. You think that one's lighter than the other one? I think it is.
It feels lighter.
Yeah.
I mean, for example.
Yeah, the other one, you couldn't even do that.
I did it with one arm and the other one.
But the other one was like 12 or 11 feet long or something.
11 feet long, 2 inches thick, or 2 inches thick, 6 inches wide.
Well, that's what this is. This is just a couple feet
Yeah,
shorter.
this is shorter.
And there was more iron on the end of it too. It had a box.
Yeah, I picked up that end.
All right, so we got to flip it over and get this thing lined up so we can start pressing on that spot right there. Watch the toes. He's hot. Cook an egg on that. All right, we spun it around, kind of getting it situated. He's gonna start heating on that spot. Might as well get it cooking because it's gonna take a while to get to where we need to get for the heat. This side's looking great. It is very warm. So that floor jack's not staying there. That's just temporarily to hold it. But we're gonna put a block on that side. He's gonna get this really hot right there. We're gonna put that on the very edge, that block right there, just on the tip. Push down here, and hopefully we're gonna curl that up. That's our goal. We'll see if we get there. Get frosty.
Hey Nick, what's the level of propane?
Right there. All right, the weight of the front half of the loader is sitting on it. They're heating on that spot there. It's still pretty hot right here. I went ahead and put a block and space just to strengthen this area so it doesn't try to bend it all here anymore because we don't want that. Obviously, we're good there. So it's just a heating game until we see it start to move. All right, looks like it's starting to flex a little bit. I think we just ran out of either oxygen or acetylene, so that's out. So we're still got propane, but it's getting weaker. There we go. That helped. Do it again. Man, it's close. It needs a little more, I think. That's good. You might start to put a dent over there. Okay, I think that's where we want it.
Yeah, I was watching
It curled this just slightly right there, but we're now parallel with the end of that and this really hot piece right there.
So we'll see how that goes. And if we don't like it, we need to do a little bit more manipulation while I get some more oxygen and acetylene and have round two.